Oh, yes.
Good morning. Hi, if you're watching me, I'm Malcolm Nance, and you should be exceptionally confused because Substack started twice and ended twice. So you're as confused as I am. These are the little foibles that it takes for us to get the information that we need. This is the Black Man Spy U.S.-Iran Warcast, day 38 of the second phase of the war, day 172 of the war. And by now, people are going to be a little confused. So we're going to give people time to bump right up and get back onto this thing. In the military, this is a little super spy secret that I'm sure Dexter Ingram, who's with us today, U.S. intelligence officer extraordinaire, director combating ISIS coalition, who's with us today in lieu of Jacob Carswell. The rules are we got to have two spies to every analyst. And so with him is Wajeeh, the gay lion, Saudi geopolitical analyst coming from Minneapolis, Minnesota. In the military and the intelligence community, it is not, Substack's up, Substack's down. It's the data link that controls all of our communications. And the phrase, the link is down, is almost universal. You'll be sitting there minding your own business, and suddenly, boom, your communications goes down, your data stream goes down, your imagery stream goes down. That's time to get up, go to the bathroom, get a coffee, come back and have a seat. And that's what we are doing this morning. So, Dexter, welcome back to Black Man Spy.
Thanks, Malcolm. I'm really excited to be here with both of you. I love your audience. I love the things we talk about. This is fun.
Oh, okay. Well, it will be fun. And look, we already got people from Anchorage, Alaska up, and we can't wait to see the people from Sydney. We know the Germans are here in the house. We have a very international audience.
Yeah.
And we've got people in Dubai. I know that because they write to me like, oh, tell me when you're coming to Dubai. So we have a really, really big audience here. For those of you who are looking, where's Jacob Carswell? Jacob is out for a couple of days. He is on a filming of a TV special in Denmark where they are wargaming a political scenario. And Jacob, who of course was Danish Directorate of Military Intelligence, their version of their CIA, was Jacob is playing the head of the spy agency and making his commentary as these political war games are being done. So
He said he's
do.
going to act like he's in the Situation Room.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah, the Danish Situation Room, which is probably in Tivoli Garden, where big plates of chocolate and very very expensive little espressos are put in front of them. That's Denmark's version of it.
Malcolm,
and of course,
I just did something like that. Well, I did two things. So I had a documentary come out on Carlos.
I saw that.
With Jack Carr. So I filmed that at the International Spy Museum, which was cool because it was the same month that I got let go from the State Department. So it was like right after I got let go from the State Department, I was like, I'm going to do this documentary. And then I think next week we have a war game where we have a whole team pretending to be ISIS. We have Bruce Hoffman, we have Colin Clark, and it's based on my career. And I'm going to be commentating kind of like an NBA sideline commentator.
I am woefully insulted. I wasn't invited to that, but you know how these things.
How dare you?
Too late.
What's that?
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Tell them to get me in it. I only wrote a New York Times bestseller called Defeating ISIS, which is 400-page encyclopedia of everything ISIS.
Well,
so what do I know? Yeah, who knows? But as of right now, we have this show. We're about 800 people. If you guys give me a moment. Yeah, Wajeeh, how are you, man? Tell us what's going on. Show us your coffee mug. I have to go get a little bit of coffee. But I'm
amazing. This is really good news about the show. No one has tried to do. You got to have some Arabs in there and some Muslims to actually give you some real insight into this role play.
Yeah.
You just right.
You can bring in Morton Storm, or you can. I'm
sure there's plenty Morton Storm.
I know. Jacob goes crazy when I mention Morton. You know, the funny thing was, and this is why I mention these things. A lot of this is not known about me until, of course, you guys read my memoir, which you've taken a look at the memoir. I ran the Al Qaeda simulation group
Yep.
from 1997 to 2001 at our Advanced Terrorism Abduction and Hostage Survival School in Coronado, California. And we started off simulating the version of Al Qaeda, which had Chechens, which would explain all the white guys. We had Arabs. We had this thing, but every person was matched at the secret level to a known identity of a member of ISIS or Al Qaeda
Mhm.
back then. And so when we would do these big captive simulations, tier one operations groups would go up against us and we would battle with simunitions. And the beautiful thing, the reason they liked it was why we started getting hit by tier one units instead of SEAL Team 4's training platoon with new guys, right? It started off with really low level guys, and then it got to, they would come and they just storm us from these tier one units. It's because they had no clue how we would fight or what we were doing. They just knew this facility, 12 American hostages, badass Al Qaeda, guys with Chechens and all that. And we trained to that, and we all had personalities of known Al Qaeda members. So the role playing petty officers that were there were playing, like one guy was a very well known Chechen who had fought in Afghanistan. He had fought in Chechnya. He had fought in Dagestan and had gone over to Bosnia. And we had his whole dossier. And we had one guy, a huge bodybuilder guy that we had play him, his behaviors, his favorite phrases, all of these things. And so we did full scale role play of known Al Qaeda members. It was not LARPing, all right? And then, of course, you get hit by fucking Delta Force, and then you suddenly realize you're not particularly good at this game, right?
Yeah,
I don't care how good you are, when 50 people storm you, Rangers, Team 6, and all these guys storm you, just gun you the fuck down. You're like, oh, I guess we have some capability. So,
I
Wajeeh, what
don't
you
think
say?
I don't think we've gotten a better insight into Al Qaeda rather than the Bin Laden papers. I've read
Yeah,
the
of
Bin
course.
Laden papers several times. It gave you a great insight from with the internal conflicts to not following guidelines to a whole bunch
This
of
is
things that led to their failure.
But that was that was Al Qaeda, right? Al Qaeda Raisi, main headquarters. And though bin Laden's philosophy was long term, thoughtful, capable, go after the governments, overthrow the governments, build the jihadi base. ISIS was, let's
Yeah,
fucking kill some people. And he was going, even him and Zawahiri were going, whoa, 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 slow down. No, we can't do it this way because what happens. You invoke this massive storm of revulsion. And while you're beheading 300 students at the Iraqi military academy, they're getting up, 100,000 Shia, Shashid Shabi, who are coming for your ass. Right. And that's how it turns out to, as I like to call it, Al Qaeda and ISIS used to use apocalyptic language. Well, so did the Shia. And their apocalypse was ISIS apocalypse. You're all going to die. None of you is getting away. You want to do it this way? You'll do it this way. Bin Laden did not want to do it that way. He wanted a long, simmering culture war closer to the Saudi secret war with Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which was it's happening at the street level. And for those of you who don't know about the secret Al Qaeda war between Saudi Arabia and Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, go watch the Jamie Foxx movie, The Kingdom. Right? It's about three
uh-huh.
FBI agents who find
Yes.
a happy ass right in the middle of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually a technically accurate Phil,
Very
because
accurate. Very
not just
accurate.
because they would like bomb, guns up all the time, but Al Qaeda was murdering people all over Saudi Arabia. They were having raging gun battles with the Saudi armed forces. Do you remember, Dexter, the incident where they took all those guys hostage in Dammam on Al
Mhm.
Jazeera? Were
I
showing
remember the
them
bombs going off.
beheading people, Filipinos and
Yep.
Americans, and then they fucking these 40 CH-46s
Mhm.
start landing on the roof and drop down 100 fucking commandos. The Al Qaeda secret war with Al Qaeda. I'm not even sure there's been a really good book done on that. I may have to do that
Nope.
book.
They
But
they they used to have, like, a bomb go off and then another bomb when the first responders came, and that would
Mhm.
just be devastating because the folks
That
that are
was
there to help all the wounded and the
Mhm.
law enforcement, the paramedics, all
But
they would
that
get
was
destroyed.
Bin Laden's philosophy, right?
Yeah.
The near enemy was our nation states, and our job was not just to destabilize them, but to create a jihadi core who would bring the rest of the population on board, and then you just overthrow the rulers. And they almost got to the crown when they tried to kill the interior minister. I can't remember which guy it was. With a one of his relatives they had flipped, and he had a rectally inserted suicide bomb device, which is why when they patted him down and searched him, he was fine. But when he sat down and he had the D1, what was his name? Wajeeh, the Minister of Defense who almost
Bandung
got killed.
and
Um,
Sultan.
yeah, Bando Ibn Sultan. He his bodyguards realized at the last second this guy was spouting jihadi talk like
Yeah.
Allah is coming for you and all this. It wasn't a favor, you know what I mean? It's like, I need a Bentley. Could you loan me $3 million, right? And
I've
it
heard all
wasn't.
that. I've
He
heard
started
all of
that.
that.
The bodyguards jumped on the minister and were killed by
Mhm.
the explosion when that guy went off. His entire body, his ribs, everything was the debris to kill his target. Yeah, it's all of this is in my book, Defeating ISIS, which
This
now it seems like it's dated. Now I'm actually having to go back and refer to shit in 2015 because many of these ISIS organizations are starting to rise again, particularly West Africa, the Sahel, Khorasan in Afghanistan. So us having these discussions about this, guys, by the way, is how we all start all of our briefings. But you know,
There's always
go ahead.
something funny though that happens, Malcolm, like in the most intense, crazy, dangerous situations. When you look back on it after
Mhm.
when you're done with it,
Yeah.
and there's always something just ridiculous that would make, excellent in the movie. It could be, one of your guys getting snagged up on something and him comically trying to get down in the middle of a firefight, or it could be how the kids are reacting locally and they'll just, I've seen little
Well,
kids make the funniest faces,
didn't
you
I?
know?
Didn't I haven't talked to you about my piece of fiction that I wrote? I wrote it 5 years ago,
No, we
and
haven't talked about it.
it's about rare earth elements in North
Mm.
Africa. And in it, it's one of the funniest things. Everything I wrote, this, by the way, this started with a request by Ellen DeGeneres' production house director, great guy. And he said, Malcolm, if you could make a film, what would it be about? And I said, I would make this film about a black spy, but he can't get anywhere because the people above him are a bunch of fucking idiots. And he is a field guy, street level guy. And I would take him to like Mauritania. Well, actually, we create a country, but everything I wrote, 180,000 words. I have to cut it down to 120 now. Everything I wrote in that book is accurate and true. And the joke was we would make a movie out of it. And in the movie, there'd be a little asterisk and in a ding, like, a bellhop's desk ding. And every time something true was said on the screen that you thought was ridiculous, a little asterisk would come over in the corner and it would say, this is true. So, for example, the bride fattening clinics of the North African Sahel, right? Mauritania, Mali, they have these clinics where they bring women and they shove camel milk down their throats for weeks, and they have them eat this super, 10,000 calorie a day gruel because they want you to get fat. Because in that part of the South, being fat meant that you could breed and have a lot of children, and it's their sign of beauty. And it is not a joke. And they consider it a torture because they send their children there. But women from Somalia, Sudan are sent to like Mauritania mainly, where they just stuff them for weeks and weeks till they go from like 90 pounds to 300 pounds. Then they're beautiful and they get sent back. And I explained that to people that shit's real. I saw it and they were like, bullshit, that's a lie. And I just go, ding, this is actually true. All these crazy things. Or the camel, I talk always on this show about the camel beauty contest. Ding, this is actually true. When they put on lipstick and eyelash. Down in Liwa,
and
United
plastic
Arab Emirates.
surgeries.
Plastic surgery, and they had that cheating scandal with the humps, right?
Yeah,
A
a whole
couple of
bunch of
years
camels.
ago in
No, this
Dubai.
year. This year.
Was it this year?
Oman has disqualified several camels for having Botox.
Yeah, they gave them big Brazilian butt lifts. Not
Yeah.
joking. Not joking. So anyway, we talk about these things humorously on this thing. And this is another thing, Dex. I could not write this fiction as a piece of straight spy, in military thriller stuff like Tom Clancy, because it's fucking hilarious. Everything we do was a series of amazingly funny jokes, even in the most desperate moments. And I remember a good example was a hijacking we were involved in. A foreign commando group went in to go rescue these people, caused the deaths of 58 passengers. And the Air Force guy next to me, while we're watching this airplane blow up, right, after giving them the way in, all this amazing intelligence, the Air Force guy next to me turns to me and he goes, I guess we're not getting any medals on this trip. You're like, dude, we got to pack up and get out of here. But this is the kind of dark humor that is espoused in all of these counterterrorism operations. So you could not do an actual movie or fiction that was not a comedy. Because if you do it serious drama, then you've probably left out 50 to 75% of the truth, right? Of all the stupid shit we say in the middle of stupid shit things, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's stuff that would happen, I mean, but if you look at nowadays, right? Look at Hegseth's leadership. Look at the decision and the words that are coming out of people's mouths when it comes to our troops. As a former sailor, that is so hurtful.
Yeah.
I've always been taught to take care of your people. My dad was, NSA, but he was
Right.
maybe crypto. And, he always said, take care of your people. I enlisted when I was 18 years old, 1 week after high school. Take care of your people. Even if you got nobody that you're in charge of, take care of the people around you.
I've been dying to ask you a question. Your grandfather wasn't Ray Ingram, the actor, was he?
No. My grandfather he was a sharecropper.
So was Ray Ingram till he went to Hollywood.
That would have been a different path. But, just my point is that looking at, what's coming out of Hegseth's mouth and what's coming out of the administration's mouth when it comes to taking care of our sailors, when it comes to long-term strategic planning, when it comes to having real understandings of what they're getting into before you go to Iran. All of these things are just not happening. And it's,
Oh,
it would
you
almost
mean
be comical.
adulting.
Yeah, but it's like they're trying to adult, but they don't. It would be comical. It'd be a South Park episode, like all those selfies and things like that. If it weren't people losing their lives and billions
Like,
of
follow,
dollars
subscribe.
being spent, what we're doing is isolating our enemies. We're making the world a more dangerous place. We're not accomplishing any of our goals, none of them.
Right.
And we're going to either double down or stop. And the recommendation is stop, stand down,
Yeah.
but now we're threatening them on. which
Yeah,
is our negotiator. This doesn't make any sense, and
I know.
it would
Well,
make a comical movie, but it's
well,
real light and it's real
it would
people.
be
So
the
funny.
worst movie ever. By
Yeah.
the way, this is Ray Ingram, the actor who played the
Mm.
Sudanese regimental sergeant major in the Humphrey Bogart movie Sahara, one of the finest leadership movies ever made. If you guys want to have it, look up Bogart Sahara, made in 1943. An actually really, really good movie. When I do, we're going to talk a little bit later about this tour. I do this battlefield guiding in Egypt. We showed that movie, and it was from an actual event that occurred in the deserts that we're in. So, anyway, listen, I know we've gone through banter a little bit, so let's move on to today's significant activities. Wajeeh, go ahead, hit me while I get more coffee.
Did you see the news that came out yesterday
I'm certain I did.
revealing that last month the U.S. destroyer was out of electricity for 4 days, leaving U.S. sailors without water access for that time.
Yes, it was the USS Ben Folds. And that was known at the time. I had heard about it. Sorry, guys, I got to fill up my grommet because it's raining, so it's a coffee day. The USS Ben Folds had an engineering casualty in its main turbines, and when that happens, main turbines, you're offline. You can't produce power, you can't produce water, you can't produce anything. They were taken under tow for 4 days. But when you're under tow, you can't leave the ship. You have to stay on the bobbing cork, still pull duty, still do maintenance, still trying to get as engineers are flown in for the engineering casualty. So, yeah, the USS Ben Folds, that's happened before um, in the US Navy history, of course. It's just that now, in comparison, so much stuff is outsourced to contractors. And that's where everything fucks up. The sailors are not taught to do everything for themselves. Like, for example, we don't paint the sides of the ship anymore, which is why our ships look like shit when they come into port. When I was a 19-year-old sailor, cryptologist, my first float off of Beirut, they didn't care that I was the Arabic linguist and that half the city was on fire. There were times where I had to take off my headphones and get on a knuckle buster, which is what we called a paint chipper, and chip my paint all the way down to the poison toxinous red lead that I should be getting a payment for in a lawsuit. And I had to repaint parts of the ship and climb a mast, 300-foot mast, and scrub it down by hand and then paint it because that's what sailors did. We don't do that anymore. We don't do the maintenance we used to do. So Urban Hermit says he's a retired chief. These things are not what they used to be because we give our money away to contractors now. We
As
don't
an
do things
outsider,
ourselves.
as an outsider looking in, I have to say,
Mhm.
the United States Achilles heel is the fact
Capitalism,
that they outsource everything.
everything,
Uh,
everything.
Everything for the military. I'm talking in particular for the military.
Well,
Like a screw that could easily cost maybe $10, they're charging us several $1,000s.
I,
Like stupid stuff like that. I don't know why
I've
we're
told you
doing it.
that. I've told you that story where in Desert Storm, I went to a military hospital and they had all reservists there, and every one of them had served together in the Vietnam War. There was about 20,000 combined years of experience. The surgeon was 68 years old. This is in 1981. And he had done some crazy number like 5,000 surgeries in Vietnam. Right? And I had a note on me in my pocket that said, take me only to this place if I'm injured. But when I got there, if I asked for a bandage, they would give me a box of 40 bandages, right? Because the logistics was supplied by the army. When I got to Baghdad in 2004, they would flip me the bird and they were like, we don't have bandages. We don't have any spares. If it's not in my hand or on my body, an Israeli bandage, you can't have one. you got to go to the contractor and then put in a requisition, and then your unit had better have its credit card, or you wouldn't get one fucking bandage. I mean, we went away from supplying ourselves to letting Kellogg Brown and Root and that company in Kuwait City that got blasted. What was it, Kuwaiti Distribution or Kuwaiti Trucking or whatever? Anyway, guys, let's get moving on to the show. Wow, we went through 2/3 of the show. Significant activities of the day. We actually have a lot of significant activities. Wajeeh, what's the price of oil?
Price of oil, my friend, Chief, it's WTI is sitting at 85.27. Brent
Down.
crude is sitting at 91.29. Marban is sitting at 98.49. And the OPEC is sitting at 85.43.
Still artificially being floated. Because the physical oil prices are still in the $120 to $150 a barrel. And that's what Mr. Global and I spoke about last week. If you guys go to the Black Man Spy podcast on YouTube, I did an hour of Mr. Global, and it was two guys with their heads in their hands going, "What the fuck is going on?" And I'm like, I can do that. I'm the intel guy. You're the oil guy. You're terrifying me when you're sitting there going, I don't know what the hell's going on. Diesel and refining doesn't match the reality of what's happening out there. There's going to be a collapse. And it's like, this is not funny. So, significant activities. Let's start off today. I actually have a full page of SIGACs that we need to talk about. First off, Iran allegedly fired 2 ballistic missiles at ships in the waters of the United Arab Emirates. Mm-hmm. And we haven't seen any evidence of that, but the Emiratis are claiming that for the first time in months, ballistic missiles were fired at the UAE. They were intercepted, and another one splashed into the water. Now, because of that, which is weird, because they had 590, if I'm not mistaken, ballistic missiles fired at them, almost 3,000 Shahed drones fired at them, and suddenly 2 ballistic missile anti-ship missiles that missed their targets has pushed the United Arab Emirates to cut all economic ties with Iran and to institute an immediate blockade and sanctioning. If you guys recall, a week ago, we were talking with Jacob, and I said, during the entire war, all those little dhows, those small commercial boats between Dubai Harbor and Bandar Abbas never stopped. Every day, hundreds of little boats are going back and forth there. The United Arab Emirates is stopping that, and they're stopping all trade and exchanges with Iran as of today. Interesting thing, because apparently Mohammed bin Zayed, the crown prince of the United Arab Emirates, is deciding to side with Donald Trump and carry out the first step of, do you remember this discussion, Wajeeh? The ground blockade of Iran. And we laughed at that because there are 7 countries that border Iran. And so the UAE is deciding they're going to be the first country to cut off those little boats, which means the gold souk won't be getting as much gold out of Iran. There won't be as many air conditioners and refrigerators being sold to Iran. And those dhows the Dow traffic is probably going to come to a halt. Okay.
To follow up on what happened there, Marco Rubio just visited the UAE and met with the National Security Advisor, Sheikh Tahannan bin Zayed Al Nahyan. And they discussed basically national security issues, like we expect. But yes, the Gulf states, all of them except for one, are moving away from the United States. The United Arab Emirates is sticking to Israel and the United States.
And I just find this funny because that technically is an act of war, right? Instituting a blockade on a country. But they've
It is.
already been there. But after all
Yep.
those missiles and bombs, suddenly you're going, oh, well, let's do an economic blockade. Bitch, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you just drop $3 billion of cash into Iran over the last month? Flown on UAE 737s, including the potential return of $244 million of gold bars that belongs to Iran. If I'm not mistaken, they gave that back. So now that they've given all the money back, they can go to Washington and go, yes, we are going to stop air conditioners going from Mall of the Emirates up there. No Iranian will be allowed to come and shop at Gucci. So this is a very interesting turn of events. So
They
the
also kicked the
UAE,
Iranian workers out.
yeah, there's no Iranian workers in the UAE, very few. Dexter, what do you think of that?
I mean, I think again, when you don't do things that make sense, you're going to isolate your enemies, the ones that, or excuse me, isolate your allies. The ones that stay with you are staying with you for either political or economic reasons, and that's what we're seeing here. I mean, we already lost Europe. We're losing the Gulf states, and what are we doing with Oman? What's happening there? Look at UAE. I think they had one missile hit within their territorial waters and one kind of kick close. Um,
Yeah, that's the
Granted,
same.
this is right after the 60 days. I think the 60 days ended on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
but that was over and done with when the second phase of
it
fighting
was
started.
over and done with, but that's their political excuse, probably.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, the Washington Post is reporting, I can't believe this. They're so accurate and they're so up to date. They're also 4 months behind the Black Man Spy podcast, where we have been saying almost daily that the Gulf states are rethinking their U.S. force posture in the Middle East.
Yep.
And also, the U.S. is rethinking it. When I saw all of special operations go to Uvda Air Base in Israel, which used to be a training base and a experimental aircraft base in southeastern Israel near the Jordanian border, that became our major hub in Israel. And it was far enough away from every major town that U.S. service members weren't going to get seen, right? Now it will likely become U.S. Central Command Forward. It will probably replace Al Ubaid Air Base in Qatar. It says U.S. bases in the Gulf, especially, of course, Bahrain, a base you and I know very well, right? Now that the Navy Exchange and the Krispy Kreme has been destroyed,
Yep.
in Kuwait and Qatar are all on the chopping block. Kuwait is a legacy base from Desert Storm. Okay, I helped liberate Port Shuaibah. I've been to Ali Al Salam, Ali Al Salam, and what is now Camp Bueling, Arif Jan Base in the south. All of these places, Ahmed Jabber Air Base. The Kuwaitis have U.S. forces there so that they don't get invaded by
That's right.
Iraq again,
Yep.
and by extension, Iran. But by using that's U.S. Army Central Command Forward is Camp Bueling. But what did you expect was going to get hit in a war with Iran? Did no one give this a minute's thought? I mean, I personally would have evacuated those bases.
They didn't. And we've lost soldiers and sailors because of that. I mean, like that's the ridiculous part. Like I remember being in these situations where I said, if we don't change something, this is going to happen and something bad happens. And, it typically was our partners that I would say this to. We would lose people, and then you don't scratch that itch and go back and go, I told you so, because and they know. But in this case right here, it's our own decisions, it's our own people. And it's so beyond obvious. But when it's amateur hour, when you have folks that are more interested in looking like they're in charge than actually leading, that's what gets people killed. That's what gets, innocent. I'm not going to say innocent because our sailors and soldiers signed up to serve, but
Right.
they don't need to be put in these unnecessary situations.
The first 6 killed were all killed at Port Ashueba,
Yep.
a port that I helped clear out, and in Desert Storm. And then I find the top that they were in only had jersey barriers around the outside and nothing over it. In a war where ballistic missiles, if you recall in Desert Storm, we had a mass casualty event from ballistic missiles when Iraq only had 30 or 40 of them, not 5,000 theater level ballistic missiles. And one of them hit a National Guard warehouse that killed and wounded 76 soldiers during Desert Storm. That was a big one down in Damam. And you would think, hey, you guys remember when Adamam got hit and all those soldiers got killed? Maybe we should move everybody under solid cover.
They
Well,
It
the
was
United
40
States didn't even do
years.
its basics in protecting the facilities they have built in Saudi Arabia because they never thought they would be attacked by any adversary in the region, and they believe that they are untouchable. The United States lost some of its most important planes in Saudi Arabia because the air hangars weren't designed to withhold all these missiles coming from Iran.
You know
The
why?
other
Because they have the masters of the universe attitude. Nothing will ever touch us. We are awesome. Our air defense is the best in the world. Motherfucker, they spent 47 years preparing for your air defense. And that's why we have all these. So we have to move on. We could talk about this
question
for the
for
next
you
month.
guys,
Yes,
sir.
Raj.
It's important. Iran, there's a report that came out 2 days ago that Iran had the contingency plan in invading Kuwait. And yesterday, they had another plan that just came out on attacking U.S. bases in Europe. What is your
Right.
assessment of those two happening?
They could happen. They could happen. The question is, will the Patriot batteries in Romania, which is where they threaten Romania, which is a close base, and Cyprus, by the way, do you guys remember day 7 or 8? I will check my notebooks. They hit Cyprus. And they hit what? Dexter, you were a former aerial reconnaissance guy. You will appreciate what they hit. They threw a Shaheed drone that flew all the way across Iraq and Syria, went out into the Eastern Mediterranean, looped down through Turkey, and came down at RAF Akrotiri and flew into the side of the hangar that houses the U-2 spy plane, the TR-1s that have been flying out of Akrotiri for fucking ever. Okay? In case you guys ever wonder, you see that picture of me in my blue room and you look over my left shoulder? What is that model airplane that's there? It's a TR-1. So, it's a strategic intelligence asset of the United States. The Iranians put a fucking Shaheed right down the middle of the hangar. We still don't know whether one of those airframes got damaged or if it was aloft doing its track. But the Iranians hit that base the first week of the war. So if you don't think that they could actually put ballistic missiles down on it, I don't think they wanted to piss the British off, but they did. And that's why the British, French, Italian and Spanish task force went to Cyprus to provide a ballistic missile shield against Cyprus. But if, the only way that you're going to know that they're attacking NATO bases in Romania is when those things boost into space and you start tracking the ballistic trajectory and you go, hey, that's not going to Incirlik, Turkey. That's going into the fucking Black Sea, right? How fast do you think the Patriot batteries will get online? And do they have the proficiency of the batteries in Jordan that have been shooting down missiles? The probability is probably not. If they shoot 2 or 3, one of them will likely hit that base because the Patriot guys up there hadn't been shooting missiles for the last 170 some odd days.
We're also running out of missiles to defend all the different parts of the world that we need to defend. And I remember specifically these stealths. These were some of the most heavily guarded planes. Between my plane, which talked to submarines and would tell them to launch nuclear weapons, and we had the codes on that, TACAMO, to these stealth planes, when we would fly in certain parts of the world, we would have 8 to 12 Marines around each one of our planes. Our planes would be in a different part of the base totally. Now, this is back in the 90s, so it's a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time ago, but it showed the importance
Protocol.
of protecting these assets. And, we're also trained when something's coming in, we're ready to go. We throw on our bags, you're running out to the plane, and you wanna be up and in the air. So even with missiles on the way, and this is what we train domestically and
Uh-huh.
internationally, get in the air. Um, the fact that they hit a facility and we're not hearing much
Mhm.
is it shows me their intel is good. It shows me their
Yeah.
capabilities are also better
Their
than I
intel
think,
their intel
were
comes from
initially
Russia and
thought.
China.
Yeah.
Their intel comes from Russia and China. Hey, quick aside, Patty from Svalbard. Okay, Patty, you need to DM me. Okay, I have been trying to get to Svalbard my entire life, and I had a trip planned to go to Svalbard from Iceland by boat. But you need to DM me. We need to go have coffee up at Svalbard. In case you don't know where that is, that's an island way the hell up in the Arctic Circle near first stop out of Murmansk, right? So let's move on. Yemen. I could just say the same thing. Yemen sinks ships in Mocha.
Well,
Yemen attacked cargo ship 40 nautical miles west southwest of Mocha. This is a different ship than the one that they sank in port yesterday. The ship, according to the UK MTO, suffered multiple hits, and it is a total loss. The crew abandoned ship. The ship has sunk. So there you have it.
Yeah, they
Yemen
lost
is
30
very
soldiers
active.
in August. And the Houthis right now are still selling arms on X. Like
huh?
Elon Musk,
Wait, what?
you
Yeah,
yes, we've
you
known
don't
this
know?
for a long time. The Houthis at this very second are actively selling arms on
You can
X,
buy a tank
On
on X.
Twitter? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
on what used to be Twitter, I guess, under verified accounts. So that means that X is actually making money on Houthi selling
Some,
arms, and
somebody's.
everybody knows it.
Okay, you need to send me that link because I need a new khanjar.
I
So,
have all of
he goes, I need
so
a new
I sell
Khanjar.
them
Oh
to
my
people
God.
all the time.
all the
I
people
know
in
plenty of accounts that could sell you a Khanjar and ship it to the United States.
I want my Houthi khanjar. I'll have to go up with the Yemeni army to go get that because that's the only way to get your flag is legitimately take it off the pole, right? Okay, let's move on from there. Turkey. Turkey is deploying F-16s to northwest Saudi Arabia to lovely Tabuk Air Base. I've never been to Tabuk, but I've been around. They will be in the air base that is closest to Jordan and Israel. Interesting deployment location. I personally thought they would have put them in the southwest between Yemen and Mecca, but no, they are going to be stationed up near Israel, which I am certain is going to give Ben Gavir a bad case of the shakes because he and Katz believe that Turkey is the next big target they should attack. And as a matter of fact, under Israel a little bit later on, Naftali Bennett has some things to say. But I find that deployment very interesting. Israel, speaking of which, Naftali Bennett, former prime minister of Israel, says that they should normalize relations with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Indonesia to combat extremism. And this is where I'm starting to see a lot of Tom Clancy level craziness start to seep into the Israeli government's thinking because, see, now they're masters of the universe as far as they're concerned. They can do anything they want, they can affect any change they want. Here is the crazy talk I got out of Naftali Bennett yesterday. He says they want to make an alliance with Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, as well as their alliance with the United Arab Emirates and Morocco, right? These are Abraham Accord guys, in order to balance the extremism. Wait for it. Take the coffee cups away from your mouth. The extremism of Iran, okay, legitimate, Turkey, and Qatar. Eh, Did he not see that Saudi Arabia just signed a defense attack treaty, a NATO Article 5 level treaty with Turkey the other day, and now they're bringing in Egypt and Pakistan with its nuclear weapons. Do they not read the same newspapers we read? That's
When I
crazy.
first read that, I was shaking my head so hard. Because in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, there's some hope here. There's some hope here." And then I'm coming to the end, and I'm like, "Come on! You could have played ball with everyone in the region and like You just said you want to fix your diplomacy. You just said the United Israel is at worst spot in its own history and in its international." I was thinking, okay, halas, that's it. This guy is about to say we should play good diplomacy and be a good neighbor with everyone. But no, he wants to spy and attack Turkey. He wants to spy and attack Qatar. He wants to spy and attack
Well,
other adversaries. Come on, this is you don't make friends with
listen,
your you don't make friends with your friends. You make friends with the enemy.
one of our paid subscribers in the chat, Jablongster, says, if Israel attacks Turkey, what happens with NATO? It's an Article 5. It's an Article 5 situation. Turkey could call on all of NATO to defend itself against Israel.
Yeah, that would be a can of worms they do not want to open up. I guarantee.
Oh gosh. And I'm sorry to say it. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow morning there is a giant earthquake in Pakistan, right? In a mountain in the Karakoram, and Turkey announces it's a nuclear power. Right? Oh, yeah, we were just testing over there in Pakistan. That wasn't Pakistan's mountain. That was ours. Yeah, we're a nuclear power now. We have 5 bombs. We have 10 bombs. Holy shit. All of this is because Trump opens his big fucking mouth and the entire world order since World War II goes topsy-turvy. Israel furthering Naftali Bennett's comments. He said Israel will be taking, and this is interesting, active measures, which is spy talk for clandestine and overt operations, where we will go out and shape the region. That's some bold talk. That is interesting talk. So they're essentially saying they're going to make the world what they want. Now, I don't know. What are you going to do? What if, if Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, is not playing ball with you and does these defense treaties? What are you going to do? Kill him?
I mean, that's the reality,
Cause
right?
him to lose? You
Look at
can't
Turkey,
change this.
Pakistan, Saudi. Like, they're doing what countries should be doing with lack of U.S. leadership. Same with the
Yeah.
EU. You have folks strengthening their own capability, making their own alliances because they can't rely on us anymore. And that's something that any real strategic planner and thinker should be looking at, along with the Strait of Hormuz, along with, military readiness and resupply and logistics, all the things that we are fundamentally failing at.
Right.
Well, the reports have come out. Israel has been spying on U.S. personnel, whether they're appointed or elected, and they've been blackmailing to get whatever they want. And the U.S. administration and the U.S. intelligence knows all about it, and they all don't give a damn. So why are we surprised when Israel is trying to do the same thing with their adversary? This is the same. They're doing this to their best friend.
The problem is they've fallen into a fantasy world where they think they can now sculpt the Middle East to the way they want it. Okay, the Mossad is good. They ain't great. All right? If you screw around with Mohammed bin Salman and the secession, all you may do is guarantee an Islamic Republic of Saudi Arabia. Right? Where you wake up one day, because I always say this to all you guys, and Dexter knows it better than anybody. You could wake up dead. All right. And the Islamic extremists, you could do things where the entire country will suddenly back you. We're signing the Abraham Accords and we are going to be at one with Israel. Yeah, you could also wake up with a rectally inserted suicide bomb, being not by your cousin, by the 5 bodyguards around you who go, bullshit, we're not doing that. We're not going to turn the land of the 2 holy shrines over to, the support of the United States and Israel. And then you get the full Indira Gandhi, which is where your bodyguards kill you. Yeah. Your most trusted bodyguards, which she had Sikhs, right? Do you remember that assassination? She did something against the Sikhs, and her two most trusted personal protective officers gunned her ass down with the weapons they were given to protect her.
Yeah.
That stuff can happen. If we want Tom Clancy world, we are definitely leaning into the Jack Ryan scenarios these days. It's crazy. All right, China, Costco and CMES, China Maritime Enterprise. These are the two largest shipping companies in China. They have between them over 100 very large crude carriers are declaring they are stopping using the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandab to ship oil to China, which means they're going to go, if they want oil from the Arabian Gulf, they're going to go the Sumed route where they get it in Yanbu, goes to the Suez Mediterranean pipeline. They pump out half. The ship goes up the Suez Canal with half, goes over to Alexandria, picks up the oil, and will go all the way around Africa. And they are also going now through the Arctic, but along the Russia's northern Arctic maritime zone, because that's being cleared by icebreakers. Finally, Strait of Hormuz. We're at the end of the list of significant activities, and I go, yeah, 3 ships got attacked from the Strait of Hormuz. That's the least significant thing that I could brief about today.
Well,
the least significant.
But they're owned by America, right?
Yeah,
Right?
who cares?
Isn't that now like we own the Strait of Hormuz, or we?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
It's the U.S. territory. Yes.
U.S. territory.
Our great Baba President, His Highness, Great Excellency, may he live forever and ever, Baba Trump, has announced that it is officially a U.S. property from now on. There is a U.S. flag on this waterway.
Yeah.
You break it, you own it.
To Allah.
Yeah.
The Strait of Trump is truly one that is belonging to these United States. Oh my God, the stupid is so thick here. Let's go on to questions, gentlemen. We got to stop here shortly. We've been going over an hour. I know we started 10 minutes late, but we will get questions. And there are a lot of questions about this. I put a poll out of who wants to go to Egypt. Maybe going to Egypt here. But first, let's look at your WARCAST questions. Please talk about NATO and Poland's supposed imminent invasion. That is just Russian bullshit talk. As I tell everybody, Russia will invade Poland and NATO with what army?
Exactly.
They don't have an army. Their army is devastated. They got no fucking tanks. They got virtually no armored personnel carriers. And the first thing that would happen is the Ukrainians would go, we're sending you a battalion of our best drone operators.
Yep.
Don't even attack the Russians. As they come on that border, let's turn this into a Ukrainian-Russian operation, anti-Russian operation. And suddenly Russian tanks by the hundreds are exploding. I've seen these things. I've walked through devastated convoys. It's like, guess they shouldn't have got up today, right? Everybody goes, oh, don't you feel sorry for those dead Russian soldiers you were? I'm like, not at all. Dumbasses should have stayed in bed. So there is no real threat to Poland and NATO. It's Russian bullshit talk. Yes. Somebody have a comment?
No, I said I agree with you completely. I mean, that's like with what? What are they going to invade Poland with? I mean, the reality is they're losing. They're struggling. They don't have the people. There's dissent in country. Their propaganda only goes so far. It's bolster.
Yep. Ella asked, how are other Arctic nations reacting to Chinese ships sailing in the Arctic? Well, those of you who know and contributed, you guys know I have been to Greenland 4 times now. And I went there more than a year and a half ago, when the only person saying anything about the U.S. threat to Greenland was me and Jacob Carsbo. And we met together just before my trip to Greenland. And then this year, I bought his ass to Greenland. We learned something very interesting from NATO Arctic Command. There has never been a Chinese ship or a Russian ship that has transited the Arctic over Canada. In fact, all Arctic activity by China. Don't forget, the Arctic Circle is a big circle, right, centered on the North Pole. And it goes around the top of the world up there at the 89th parallel. Don't forget that all of their activity that NATO's Arctic Command has ever seen has been Chinese exercise ships with the Russians off of Alaska. Nowhere near Eastern Canada or Greenland or anywhere. All the Arctic cargo that has moved along the Russian coast on the easty side, not on the Western Hemisphere side. None of it. The only Russian ship we've ever seen in or around Greenland is the Dacha, which is a billionaire's mega yacht that takes ski Nazis up and down the Greenland coast to hit that fresh snow powder in hella skiing. And I know because I went all around there. I got pictures of that ship all over the place. There are no Arctic threats. That's the first thing we were told by the general in charge of Arctic Command. He goes, biggest threat I see is to Alaska, because all the Chinese activities in the Bering Strait on the other side of the world. Go take care of that Arctic problem before you start saying that there's an Arctic problem in the Greenland area space. Okay, I'm going to take one more question, and then we are going to see. Oh, somebody said if you want to, they're mentioning another film that I really liked, Ice Station Zebra, another classic, spooky-ass Cold War film, where the U.S. Navy actually gave the filmmakers a U.S. submarine. It's freaking amazing. That is a salty Navy movie, which talks about spy operations in the Arctic Circle. Okay,
I don't
last
know if
question.
you saw, there's two news that came out. Ali
What's that?
Abdullahi, the chief of staff of the Iranian armed forces, has warned the Gulf states again of assisting the U.S. military, saying it would be viewed as a participation of the war and the U.S. attacks. The Iranian parliament speaker, Mohammad Baghdad, has arrived in Baghdad to strengthen the new regime relations with the Iraqi government, with the new Iraqi prime minister that was just visiting with Trump in D.C.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
that Khomeini also just kind of solidified his military leadership by appointing some of the most top commanders. So he's kind of rebuilding after that top layer was destroyed months ago.
Got rid
I
of the
think they
old
have
men.
loyalists. Yeah.
You could name the IRGC No Country for Old Men.
Mhm.
Okay, the guys who are in
Mhm.
charge now are my age, who were
Mhm.
in their teens in the Iran-Iraq war, all of whom fought with Mujtaba al-Khamenei when he was 17 in the last year of that war, going out trying to break through in Basra and shit. These guys got combat experience under them, and the rest of their lives, they built the IRGC up. And if you kill them, that's even worse because now they're young lieutenants in their 40s, right? The colonels and the up and coming guys. You kill off the guys in their 60s, the guys in their 40s are the ones you really do not want to fuck with because they'll be like, we're never buying another airplane again. Drones for everybody.
Yep.
Drone Academy for every boy 15 and up. That will be a completely different advanced military. So we really should watch out for what we wish for. You know, guys like
Mhm.
Vahidi, old beards, gray beards like me, we're smart enough to let the young guys kick your ass. Right? Khalas. Okay, last question. This comes from Tsunami. Question, hearing that ships are preferentially taking the Oman route. More than 80% of liquids transits through the Strait of Hormuz over the past 2 weeks have taken the Omani route or have been dark transits that likely took the Omani route, according to Kepler. Any thoughts on Mango Mussolini's claim the SOH is now U.S. territory? First off, yes, they are transiting out of the Omani traffic separation scheme. The numbers that are coming through there, 80% of 1%. is not a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
140 ships per day on average went through the Strait of Hormuz. That number is between 6 and 10. And we're bragging about it. Whoop, all that oil's coming out. No, it ain't. There's more oil coming out through the Habshan Yanbu pipeline to Fujairah.
They
Habshan
really
Fujairah
like to make
pipeline.
it seem like Iran has no control over the strait, even though like they really like I posted the news not to be like this is the real news, but I posted the news because this is what the US is presenting at the moment.
Mhm.
The
Yeah,
reality is the Houthi alone have prevented the more than 50 ships to pass through Bab al-Mandab alone. And that's
right.
Bab al-Mandab. That's not even the Strait of Hormuz. What do you think Iran can be doing in the Strait of Hormuz? Because the U.S. destroyers are not even in the strait; they're all the way sitting at the Gulf of Oman. Are U.S. destroyers hanging out in the Gulf of Oman? Because U.S. destroyers cannot protect themselves from Iranian attacks in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, these guys are like posting a security guard at the door of the supermarket or the mall from but you got to walk from one end of the mall all the way through to the last door and there's a security guard there. We are not escorting anybody. I've done escorts, right? Weapons out, everybody red and fucking free. And you're like, well, let's wait for it. They're not doing that. I think we did one vessel passage, the two vessels that went in and went out. But when I was younger, it didn't matter. We owned that transit. The Iranians never had the capability of stopping us. Now we know. We know that if the Iranians wanted to, they could sink an Arleigh Burke, one or two Arleigh Burke class destroyers. And the only fact that they haven't is because we have told them not to. Or we have not given them a circumstance where they could, and their leadership is like, no, no, let's not. Let's threaten. We don't have to shoot anything. Shoot that tanker. We don't have to shoot a U.S. warship, right? But
Mhm.
we'll get around to it eventually if they do something stupid. But at that point, you'll lose all of Qatar's liquid natural gas. The Baraka nuclear power plant will be melting down. There will be no water in Kuwait. The Iranians have been relatively restrained in this war. Let's be honest. They've been relatively restrained. Okay, last question. That was the last question. I'm going to answer some of the commentary about. I posted a comment saying, hey, who wants to go to Egypt with me? We are trying to assess, for those of you who don't know, I have been for some time a battlefield historian, and I give expert battlefield tours. And I have been going to Egypt for the last 3 years doing a tour of the history of World War II, of the origins of the SAS and
That is
SAS,
so
Special
cool.
Air Service,
So
the
cool.
SOE, Special Operations Executive, and the Long Range Desert Group. And we go all over Egypt. We actually start in Cairo at Heliopolis, which is where the British were headquartered. We go downtown. If you've seen the TV show Rogue Heroes,
Mhm.
about the origins of the SAS with Sterling and Patty Main. That's what we're talking about, the origins of that. And we go everywhere to where the airbase that Sterling broke his back in, right? When he was practicing his para jumps, the hospital that he was put in, the Scottish hospital that's in downtown Cairo. We go out to Mina House and the pyramids and all that stuff. Then we go to Alexandria, the battlefield of El Alamein, Marsa Matruh, but we go someplace nobody goes to. No tourist goes to. It's a town in western Egypt called Siwa. And Siwa is a freshwater
Beautiful place.
oasis that also has a salt field. So you can actually, it's like the Dead Sea. You can go float in the salt. That's fun. But it is an eco tourist place now. Last time I went there, it was full of influencers with cameras. Like I'm in the untouched. No one has ever been here. Mud Hut Village, and what it actually is, it's a Berber city where the Berbers walked across the entire Sahara and built an almost identical, like Ait bin Hadu. Ait bin Hadu in Morocco, right?
Mhm.
Dexter. It's identical, only bigger than Ait bin
Wow.
Hadu. you would not believe it. You were like, who built this Moroccan mud town in the middle, Moroccan mud fortress in the
Wow.
middle of Western Egypt? And that is, but that, when you go watch the TV show Rogue Heroes, they show that they're supposedly at Jalu in Libya. I've been to Jalu in Libya. That is not where their headquarters was. Their headquarters with the Long Range Desert Group was in Siwa in Western Egypt. And then they would navigate out to Jalu. If you go on this, you will be sick of the history of World War II. And then at the end, we do 3. This is an special year. It's the 85th anniversary of the founding of the SAS and the Long Range Desert Group. So we're doing 3 days in Cairo at the end of it, which is fun. But, you go, you ride the camels at the pyramid, and you do all the rest of the fun touristy things. But it's really about learning about history. And of course, you get to hang out with me for 10 days or 11 days, whatever it is.
When is
So
that?
the people, that's going to be November. The new program is November 15th to the 25th. We already have a program starting November 1st to the 11th. So I'll be
Malcolm
in
said, I
Egypt.
ain't going in the summer.
Yeah, shit. They wanted me to go in October. October practically melted my ass last time. Because in Western Egypt, it ain't the Nile Valley, buddy. It is not the Nile Valley. It is hot with a capital hot. And you're technically you're in the eastern Western Libya, right? The eastern desert. So it is not cool at night. Let's just put it that way. So it's somebody says it might be too much, Malcolm. It absolutely is. It is just way too much. But my buddy who comes on me, my 2IC is named Duncan, great British guy from 22nd SAS. He's a retired SAS trooper, huge mountain of a man. And we have a hilarious, great time there. But you will be learning shit you didn't even know you knew. Everything that you see in Rogue Heroes, including especially the attack on the airbase, Abu Hanish airbase, I discovered the exact proper location of that airbase. And you have to have tribal authority to go onto it. And I got that last year. And this is the first time anyone's been on that base in 85 years. It ain't a base, it's just desert now. But it's where they drove all their Jeeps down in a line and shot up all the aircraft. And we actually have reconnaissance imagery from that trip and everything. So I've got to go. I have another show to do, Stephanie Miller Radio Show on Sirius XM in 10 minutes. But for those of you who have been asking, that's why I posted this. A lot of people keep asking, hey, what's up with this Egyptian stuff? Well, that's what's happening. I will be broadcasting from Egypt live. So every day,
Let me know if you find the genie.
I just want to know if this war will be over by then, right? I'd like a vacation. But I'll be a month in
common
Egypt.
sense would dictate, hopefully, but reality is there's no common sense here. So,
yeah. Dexter, I'm going to save you a slot because I know you want to go.
Well, I'm a huge history buff, and if you look behind me, I have like
I know your little museum
SOE items, but we'll talk later.
Yeah, you need to just give that shit to me, man. I give you that. I told you I have that whole history of Southern Air Transport, the CIA's
I think that's awesome.
super secret transport company.
But it's not SOE.
We're trading already all of our spy museum, our private spy museum stuff there. Okay, guys, we will see you all tomorrow. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're too late. Subscribe to YouTube. Come to Substack at malcolmness.substack.com. All right, Dex, I'll see you tomorrow. Wajeeh, see you tomorrow. All right.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.